my accountant contacted me, stating, "Chris, there's been a wire transfer. $440,000 was transferred yesterday to a Cayman Islands account." I responded, "That's unbelievable. I was with my family all weekend." Her voice sank. "I know. That's why I'm phoning you." It then struck me why my sister vanished for 2 minutes. You know that feeling when someone you love, someone who shares your blood, turns into a stranger right before your eyes? I felt it when my own sister tried to steal nearly $500,000 from me. What followed was a betrayal so deep, it shattered my family and taught me that some wounds never truly heal. They just change. My name is Chris. I'm 33, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the fixer. The oldest kid, the one who moved out first, started a company first, the one who always figures it out. That's what my mom says, usually right before she dumps another problem on my lap that has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm the guy who fixes Wi-Fi, buys plane tickets, and somehow always ends up paying for dinner. Entrepreneur is just a polite way of saying I haven't slept properly since 2019. I build logistics software. I live in a tiny apartment that looks way bigger on Instagram, and I run on black coffee and pure adrenaline. Oh, and I'm also the unofficial family ATM. It's never spoken out loud, but it's always been understood. Then there's my sister, Dana. She's 29, bright, absolutely charming, the kind of person who knows everyone at a party before she even walks through the door. But she also has this uncanny knack for twisting a conversation, making you feel guilty for just existing. Her go-to line? It was always, "Oh, whenever I say no, it must be nice to forget where you came from." A knife twist every single time. It all came to a head 2 Sundays ago, at my mother's birthday. The kitchen was buzzing, loud with voices. My dad, ever the pragmatic one, had insisted on paper plates under the fancy cake because he despises washing dishes. I was slicing cake, trying to just exist, when Dana sidled up to the counter. She said it like a joke, but her eyes held a different message. "You're late on gifts this year, banker boy." I actually laughed. "I'm not a banker, Dana." She just smirked, a knowing little lift of her eyebrows. "You are when we need you to be." Then my mom. She snapped her fingers at me, just like I was 15 again. "Christopher, don't forget your grandma's prescription money on your way out. The card machine at the pharmacy is broken. Cash would be so much easier." I bit back the urge to scream. "Mom, I sent you money last week." She just waved her hand dismissively. That disappeared. Life's expensive. My dad, meanwhile, was glued to the TV, acting like the remote was the most important thing in the universe. "Don't make a fuss," he mumbled, not even glancing my way. I wanted to yell, "It's family. Family isn't my payroll." Instead, I just whispered, "I'm tapped out till Tuesday." It came out too soft. Dana, of course, heard it, and she laughed. That specific laugh that makes everyone else join in because she's already decided it's hilarious. Tapped out. The rich entrepreneur is tapped out. Cute. I put the knife down. A sharp clatter. "Oh, relax," she said, already bored. "You know I'm just messing with you." But the air in the room had shifted. I felt it. A tightening in my chest, a burning in my ears. That primal, animal sense that something was deeply wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it. Not yet. Not while my mother was raising her glass, beaming. To family. The people who show up. Everyone cheered. I took a sip of my drink, but I tasted nothing. My eyes found Dana. And suddenly, I remembered. Just a few minutes earlier, she'd slipped into the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, voice low. Just 2 minutes. Then she'd reappeared, a wide, innocent smile plastered on her face, like she'd just solved some complex puzzle I didn't even know we were playing. I didn't understand it then, but I felt a click, somewhere deep under my ribs, like a lock turning on a dark, hidden door. Here's the part people conveniently skip when they tell those neat, tidy stories, the pattern. At 22, I launched my first app. It crashed and burned. At 24, I joined a tiny startup, then left to start my own company with a friend. We actually built something that worked. I learned to love spreadsheets, and I learned to absolutely despise weekends. Money was always lumpy. Success felt like a roller coaster on an ECG monitor. And in those years, my family learned something too. If they called, I picked up. If the car died, I paid for the tow. When rent got tight, I covered the gap. When my parents' roof started leaking, I put it on my own credit card because the contractor didn't trust checks. They'd say thank you with this detached tone, like I was just passing them napkins. The script never, ever changed. Chris, you're so good with numbers. Chris, you know how hard it is for us. Chris, just this once. Dana played a different game. She didn't ask. She framed. You remember how Dad helped you with your first car? He didn't. You remember sleeping on my couch when you were coding nights? It was 2 nights, and I fixed her router for 6 months. She'd twist the story, then flash this dazzling smile, as if she were offering me the chance to be generous in front of an audience. When I finally started paying myself a real, proper salary, I created a separate account, a budget just for family. I told my parents I'd help with specific things: medicine, utilities, emergencies. Period. I told Dana I wasn't going to fund her big purchases, her credit card point strategies, or give her bridging loans. I said it simply: I'm not a bank. She just laughed. You're literally a payments guy. My boundaries? They didn't stick. They just heard, maybe later. It escalated slowly. Little things. My mom would forget to cash my checks and ask me to Zelle her instead. My dad would mysteriously lose receipts. Dana logged into my Netflix and somehow also my airline miles. I switched passwords and felt like a paranoid villain. Then came the small lie, the one I didn't catch until much later. Last summer, when things were crazy at work, I hired an outside accountant, Sarah. She rebuilt our books with military precision. She found a $1,000 subscription we'd been double charged for. I joked that she was my new favorite person. She laughed like the older sister I'd always wished I had. In January, my co-founder and I closed a Series A. Nothing wild, but enough to finally breathe. I told no one except him and Sarah. I'd learned, money makes my family weird. I kept my head down. I stayed in my same apartment. I even kept my stupid squeaky shoes. But news leaks, right? A cousin posted a photo of me at a co-working space, captioning it, King. My mom called, so proud. My dad said, about time. Dana sent a string of champagne emojis and a link to a designer watch she'd been meaning to buy eventually. I ignored the link. I sent my mom flowers. I sent Dana nothing. She responded in the group chat with a meme that said, billionaire behavior, and a winking face. That night, she texted me privately. Serious question. I need $20K, just for like 2 weeks. Commission clears, I'll send it back. I typed no and deleted it. I typed a paragraph about boundaries and deleted that too. I wrote, I can do $2K to help cover groceries or utilities, not loans. She didn't answer. The next morning, she posted a story from a rooftop bar. And then, that weekend at my mother's birthday. The 2 minutes in the hallway. That tiny click inside me. Monday morning, 8:14 a.m. I was on a Zoom call with a client who only speaks in bullet points. My phone flashed with Sarah's name. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. And again. That's not like her. I answered. Her voice was tight, strained. Chris, did you authorize a wire transfer yesterday? Yesterday was Sunday. I know, she said. That's why I'm calling. I switched my laptop audio to mute. How much? My mouth went dry. How much is a lot, Sarah? 440,000. I stared at the ceiling tile above my desk, like it could somehow fix me. 440,000. Yes. Sarah, that's impossible. I was with my family all weekend. I know, she said, and her voice dropped, heavy with meaning. That's why I'm calling you. The click happened again, but this time it was louder. Dana. The 2 minutes. The hallway. I walked to my kitchen. The walls in there feel like a place where true things can be said. Tell me everything. Sarah exhaled. The wire went out from your new high-yield account. Not corporate. Personal. Cayman Bank. The request had your full name, SSN, a PDF of your ID, and a signed letter. I didn't sign anything. I figured. The signature looked traced. I leaned against the counter so hard the wood squeaked. When, Sunday, 1:42 p.m., my brain, in a sickening flash, pulled up a photo, my mother blowing out candles at 1:35. It played the sound of Dana's laugh at 1:38. It showed me my sister stepping into the hall at 1:40, phone pressed to her ear. Sarah, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Can we freeze it? I already called the bank. They flagged it. It's pending final settlement. We have a window. How big? Hours. She continued. You have my power of attorney documents for corporate, not personal. I closed my eyes. Walk me through what you need. She did. I took notes with my left hand because my right hand wouldn't stop shaking. I opened my password manager and changed everything I could possibly think to change. I called the bank, then security, then the fraud line, then back to the bank because the first person pronounced my last name like a question. By noon, the wire was in a holding cell. Not safe, not gone. Just in that limbo place where money waits to see who cares more. At 12:18, my mother texted, "Did you make it home okay, honey?" At 12:19, Dana texted, "Are you being weird? You're being weird." I typed, "We need to talk," and deleted it. By 12:34, Sarah sent me screenshots. The IP that requested the transfer. The email used to confirm it. The device fingerprint from the login. A repeating pattern over days of failed logins at 2 a.m., she wrote. Looks like they had your old password and got lucky when you used the same one on that new account. My stomach dropped. 6 months ago, I'd helped my parents with their Wi-Fi. Dana had hovered behind me. "What's your password again?" She teased, because she always teased. I'd held up my phone screen. Half a joke, half a dare. She had laughed. "You're impossible." Not impossible, it turns out. Just predictable. I didn't start with the police. I started with the family group chat because, I guess, I'm a fool who always hopes the easy door opens first. Me. Emergency call at 1 p.m. Everyone. Mom, I'm in a Pilates class, sweetheart. Dad, at work. Dana, make it fast. Me, now. They joined the FaceTime call, their faces lit by the screen in that way people are when they don't expect to be caught. My mother smiled too wide. "Chris, darling, what's wrong? You look pale." I kept my voice flat, dangerously calm. "Someone tried to steal $440,000 from my personal account yesterday." Silence. My father blinked. My mother's smile took half a second longer to break. Dana tilted her head like a curious cat. I shared my screen. "This is the wire request. Here's the signature. Here's the Cayman account. Here's the IP address. Here's the device ID. Here are the login attempts from our home network name on Saturday night. Here is the authorization email, sent from an address created last week with my initials, but the wrong birthday." My mother whispered, "Oh my God." I kept going, because if I stopped, the room would fill with a suffocating fog. Here's the photo of my ID attached to the request. It's my ID, but the edges are jagged where someone traced it. Here's the line where they typed my middle name wrong, the way only someone who guesses would type it. Dana crossed her arms. "So," she said, shrugging. "So, someone scammed you. You're not special, Chris. Happens to people every day. You should be more careful with your passwords." I didn't blink. "Dana, where did you go for 2 minutes yesterday at 1:40? She rolled her eyes. "Bathroom. Your phone was in your right hand in the hallway," I said. "You never go to the bathroom without your phone. But you came back with both hands empty. Where do you set it while you're in the bathroom?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. "You can't be serious." "I am," I said. "Because the request came in at 1:42, and the IP points to our house. The device fingerprint matches your new phone. And the test email to confirm the transfer uses your backup Gmail, the one you only give to delivery drivers. You forgot you used it for a brunch reservation once and replied to Mom from it. It autofills." My mother said my name like a warning. "Christopher." "Mom," I said, without looking away from Dana. I tapped my keyboard. A new window filled the screen. A photo Dana had posted last week. It was a hand holding a cocktail. Her hand, her nails with tiny white stars on the ring finger. Next to them, her phone case, clear with a sunflower sticker, mirrored in the glass. The reflection showed her lock screen. That dumb, perfect candid of us at the beach when we were kids. The same lock screen in the security log. "Are you serious right now?" Dana said. Her voice, for the first time, had a hairline crack. I didn't yell. I didn't move. I just said, "I froze the wire. If you tell me now, I can decide how this goes." She laughed, but it was the wrong kind of laugh. A brittle, desperate sound. "Decide? You think you get to decide? You walk around with your startup and your little money and act like you're better than us, but you're not. You're a vending machine with feelings." My father finally spoke. "Dana." Just her name. Not a scold, a caution. Her chin went up. I did nothing. "Then you won't mind the police seeing your phone," I said. "And you won't mind me forwarding the bank's fraud team the IP logs, the device ID, and the video from our doorbell yesterday that shows you stepping outside at 1:41 because upstairs is a dead spot for cell service and you needed signal. Her eyes flashed. You went through the doorbell footage. I installed the doorbell, I said. Remember? I fixed things. My mother reached for words and grabbed the wrong ones. Chris, please. We're family. I know, I said. That's why I'm giving you 10 minutes to tell the truth before I send this to people who won't care that we are. Dana's jaw worked like a machine chewing a bolt. She looked at my father. He looked at the floor. She looked at my mother. My mother looked at me. Fine, Dana said finally. The word hit the room like a dropped plate. Yes, I set it up. I wasn't going to take all of it. It was a bridge. I was going to put it back. She tried to smile. You know how these deals work. What deals? I said, but she was already talking. I met a guy who does private placements. He said, short window, guaranteed return. He said if I could get in fast, I'd double it in a week. I just needed seed. I figured you'd say no because you always say no. So I said, so you stole. She rolled her eyes hard enough to see all of college. It's not stealing if I was going to return it. My mother finally found her voice, small and shaky. We can fix this quietly. We can't, I said. I froze the wire, but the bank filed a suspicious activity report. This is already real. Dana folded her arms again, lips tight. You're ridiculous. No, I said. I'm done. And something in the room snapped shut. The next 12 hours were slow and surgical. First, the bank. I forwarded everything. I authorized the fraud team to contact Sarah. I wrote a statement with timestamps. I included the doorbell video. I signed it digitally. I didn't look at my name in the signature because it felt like someone else's. Then I called the lawyer. He answered on the second ring and told me 2 things I didn't want to hear. Report it to the police now, and stop talking to your family until you have counsel on every call. I wrote both on a sticky note and taped it to my monitor because grief makes me forget simple sentences. At 3:06 p.m., I filed a police report. The officer on the phone asked questions like a metronome. I answered them like a person translating their own life into past tense. At 3:48 p.m., the bank confirmed the wire was reversed into a holding account pending investigation. The money wasn't back. It was visible. It would be released when the case closed. Corporate words for not gone. At 4:22 p.m., Dana texted me directly. You're destroying my life. Call off the dogs. 5 minutes later, I didn't mean it like that. 10 minutes later, you've always wanted to embarrass me. Then fine, do what you want. I didn't reply. At 6:01 p.m., my mother called from the house phone like it was 1998. I let it go to voicemail. Then she sent a flurry of texts, each one like a different season. Honey, I'm sure this is a misunderstanding. Your sister is in tears. We are your parents. You owe us kindness. Don't do this to us. We raised you. We sacrificed. Remember who helped you when you had nothing? We can make this go away. Call me now. I read them in order and felt my lungs get small. I put my phone face down and washed the same cup twice. At 8:30 p.m., Sarah called. The bank liaison said your documentation is the cleanest they've seen. That helps. Also, you need to file an FTC identity theft affidavit. Now, I filed it. I scheduled fraud alerts with all 3 bureaus. I thought about how adult chores are just whether you stand in because no one else can. At 10:14 p.m., a new text from my father. 3 sentences, don't press charges. She's your sister. We'll figure out a repayment plan. I stared at the word plan until it lost its meaning. I typed no and deleted it. I typed, you should have told her no before she needed a felony, and deleted it. I typed nothing and slept on the floor because my bed felt too kind. Morning made things sharper, not easier. The lawyer called at 8 a.m. and said, they'll try to make you feel crazy. Don't negotiate via text. Don't go to their house. Don't meet alone. If they call, let it record. He paused. You okay? No, I said, but I'm not going to die. He said, that's enough for today. Around noon, my phone lit with Dana's name. I answered because I wanted to hear the version of the story she tells herself. Are you happy? She said, her voice flat. No, you ruined my life. You tried to empty mine. It was alone, she said, and the word cracked in the middle. I didn't agree to it. She exhaled into the phone like she could fog the truth. You were never going to help me. You like this. You like being the martyr. I closed my eyes. I like building things. I like sleeping at night. I like owning my own money and my own choices. And I'm allowed to not be stolen from by someone who knows my childhood phone number. Silence. Then that tiny voice I remembered from when we were kids, and she needed me to check the closet for monsters. I panicked, she said. I'm in deep. I thought I could fix it fast. With fraud, I said softly. Don't call it that, she snapped, her voice back to steel. You always make everything sound worse. Because it is worse, I didn't say. Because it's true. That night, I wrote an email to my parents. Short, clean. I attached a PDF the lawyer helped me draft. It said, I will communicate only in writing. All financial boundaries are now formal. Do not use my name or accounts for any reason. Do not ask me for access. Do not represent me with any institution. If you do, I will treat it as fraud. I hit send and felt like I'd started a fire in a room I was still inside. Days stretched. Work moved forward. The wire sat in its holding cell. The bank asked for one more statement and 2 more screenshots. The police asked to schedule an in-person interview. My lawyer told me not to post anything online. I wanted to post everything. The group chat went silent. Then it roared. An aunt wrote, family is messy. Forgive. A cousin wrote, I heard there was a misunderstanding. A neighbor I barely know texted, we love Dana. Someone from high school DM'd me. My brother did this to me too. I stopped opening messages after that. A week later, the bank released the funds back to my account. No confetti, no banner. Just a balance that made me cry in my kitchen because it was mine again. 2 days later, the detective called to tell me they'd completed the report. Your sister's admitted enough that the DA wants to pursue a plea. They'll ask if you want to recommend conditions. I sat with that. The heavy idea that justice can look like choices you have to make about people you love. My recommendations were simple. Full restitution, financial counseling, community service at a victim assistance nonprofit, and a restraining order if she contacts me outside of counsel. It felt both too much and not enough. The storm didn't end. It just changed temperature. My mother's last message came at midnight. You broke this family. I stared at it as long as I could and then blocked the number. Because a boundary isn't a line you draw once. It's a wall you maintain daily. I slept for 10 hours like a person who finally let go of a rope. I used to imagine closure would be this grand, dramatic speech. Me, standing in a packed room, listing every receipt, every screenshot, every single time they made me feel small. And then, applause, credits rolling, the whole Hollywood ending. But real life? It's never like that. Closure arrived quietly, on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:17 p.m. in a sterile, beige county office. A clerk, who used 3 paper clips where one would have been perfectly fine, watched me sign the final restitution form. I walked out into the blinding sun, which, of course, couldn't care less who I was or what I'd just been through. I got into my car and just sat there for a moment, watching a dad teach his toddler how to press the crosswalk button. The kid pressed it with all his might, then giggled, like he'd just broken the funniest rule in the world. I drove home. I made pasta. I ate it standing up, because sitting still, it felt too much like practice for regret. Later, I opened my email. 2 invoices paid, and then a message from Sarah. It simply said, proud of you. I just stared at those 3 words for a long, long time. Because, no one in my family had ever said that to me, not without a hidden string attached. Later, I took a walk with my phone in my pocket and my ringer off. The city hummed like a big dishwasher. I passed a pawn shop with a sign that said, we buy gold, and thought about all the tiny ways people trade pieces of themselves just to get through a bad week. When I got back, I wrote a note for myself and taped it to the inside of my front door where no one else will see it. It says, you are not a vending machine with feelings. You are not a bank. You are not responsible for their unfinished work. You are allowed to be generous and still say no. You are allowed to lock the door. I keep thinking about the 2 minutes Dana disappeared at my mother's party. How small the action was. How casual. How it was enough to almost rearrange my entire life. And I think about the other 2 minutes. The ones I took before I called the bank. The ones where I stood in my kitchen and let the truth land in my bones. The moment I understood that love without boundaries is just an open tab at a bar where no one knows your name. Sarah called today to close the loop. Everything reconciled, she said. You good? No, I said, then corrected myself, because truth is work. I'm getting there. She laughed softly. That counts. I don't know if my family will ever forgive me for choosing not to be used. I don't know if Dana will do the counseling seriously, or if my parents will ever say the word steal out loud. But I do know this. My accounts are mine. My days are mine. My story is mine. And next time someone in my family asks for something that costs me more than money, I'll say no. And I'll let it hang there. Not cruel, just clean. I used to think the opposite of love was anger. Turns out, sometimes it's peace. So, tell me, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to choose between family and your own well-being? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear what you think.